a recursor. What had I got to here? Yeah, sending the actual screen coordinates of the mouse into these draw methods is the sensible thing to do. Inside length snap, I need to know the transformed size. A lot of these things are going to come out of here, just like I like to store these globals when I can, when I know that they're just going to be used constantly in the functioning of the classes. I'm going to store more here, more of the things that I'm using here, you know. Screen grid. Yeah, because here I create this screen grid width and height inside the grid draw, and I need to do it inside length snap as well, only for the actual size. You know, I'm not computing a width and height, but I do need okay, well maybe I'm making wrong judgments about what exactly I need, but I need some things. Actually, it's diff. No, diff. I'm looking at this for a second. Yeah. Okay. For now, though, I need to find out the transformed size of the length snap value. And there's probably a really good way to do this with a matrix if you understand the affine matrix better than I do. The way I'm going to do it, though, is I'm going to store a vector which is called size t g vector equals new g vector. Doesn't matter, it's these initial values will be 0, 0 anyway. The only reason I sort of state that one is that is going to stay 0. These other ones are just irrelevant. Right, size transformed. I really don't like the way it does that. G vector is certainly found if it's using. It just is. It's because of that. It's because I double click. Double clicking sets the build file, locks the build file. And the editor is basing its knowledge about what exists on that, which is fine. It's just I accidentally change it, and I'm not switched on enough to the fact that that is what I'm doing. Main needs to be the build file. Right. So I'm going to store size transformed. And here, I should just do this. I'm going to field size g vector equals new g vector. I'm going to make problems for myself with this, but it's just size set by width and height. Out x equals this times size x, this times size y, size y, and size x, and size x and size y. size. And I don't need to do that anymore, do I? I just transform size into size transformed. I think. Size transformed goes everywhere where VT was, right? And this... yeah, no, this is right, size transformed. So it transforms it first. And then I say size transformed, subtract origin transformed. Yeah, I'm not a total... Well, I am an idiot, but... SGW. This is actually size transformed X. SGW is size transformed X. SGW, size transformed X. SGW, size transformed X. Start off numlines. Okay. I just muted my mic for a second. I'm going to get used to doing that, and I'm hoping that that's the reason my mic is cut out in previous videos. I'm not so sure though. Right, let's just keep going. So I'll keep going to the end of this, and I am going to test my vid. I'm at 7 minutes. I will just test it at 15. Size transformed Y takes the place of size screen grid height. I see no other size transformed Y. Okay. Is this really right? Transformed minus... Yeah, I mean, that is okay. Let's see. Start off numlines. See, I think numlines, it's also going to be useful. Numlines will also be useful in the length draw method to indicate steps. Is, you know, it could be numlines, could be steps. That's going to be the next thing. In fact, I'm going to just take numlines, all these things, unsigned int. Is that a sensible thing to do? Are all these things pretty much equivalent to deal with the processor? I have no idea, I just don't know enough. So I can take this out, it's just numlines. And I will just, while I'm at it, I'll replace this. Okay. Yeah, so that's the total distance. Step value, step vector, notch vector. Right, now, sorry, I'm getting away with myself slightly because I'm getting distracted by cleaning up these things a bit, or trying to make it that they're not just assigning a load of stuff, which is probably madness, but I don't know, I'm trying to imagine how these things are going to be called, and it's probably a mistake to try and imagine it, but one will not interfere with the other much, although there is, me. These are all for transforming them. Because what I do look forward and think about is when these need to interact. Like I want to be able to compare a grid snap with a length snap with an angle snap, and I want to be able to compare each with each other. And I'll just have to bear that in mind. I'll just have to take care. That's a madness thing to say, I realise that. That's just not the way a programmer should be working, but that's what I'm going to do. So, these annoying little things, distance and angle, what is it? Is there anything here? I have start and off. Well, this is tricky. This is tricky. Draw this. I first get the origin. I don't bother getting the origin when I draw the length snap. I guess I just don't need it. I only need the center. Yeah. Gosh, my brain. Okay, so what I want is like I want to transform size again. Like I say, if there was what I'm getting at here is if I had a better understanding of the affine matrix, I probably wouldn't have to do this, but what I'm going to do is do a transformation and read a little bit out of it, read one of the components of the results of it. But inevitably I realise this is just a float. I need to pass a vector in to transform. Like, really, I want to just scale this by whatever the bloody scale of this thing is. But of course, this, scales x and y. So, like, what I'd usually think about doing is imagining a vector made of size laid out along the x-axis, transform that by the matrix, and then read the length of the outcoming vector. That's what I'm going to do just now. That is what I'm going to do. But again, it means using a temp vector. But I have a temp vector, I have v, which is there for this use. It means I shouldn't call any other sort of methods internal to the snap classes while I'm doing it, but I'm not going to do that. Right, okay, v set size, set. I'm in grid snap and that's wrong. I don't want that. What I want is length snap. And what I want to say is v set size comma 0.0. So that makes v into a vector, the length of the length snapping value along the x-axis. Then I say m transform vector. The matrix that I got in. Transform vector v to size transformed. And now I feel like I need another. Like I don't have any. This is just doing my head in. Right. So now what I kind of am tempted to do is say local length transformed float equals size transformed length. Ugh, it's really, really not very good, is it? So where do I use size here? I'm just going to test this first. I'm going to see if it makes any sense. I'll bet that something insane happens when I run this. So that's really the significant thing. It's the step size needs to have the length the scaled length incorporated into it. This is some real guesswork here. Really the opposite of what a proper programmer does, I assume. I don't want to insult proper programmers, because even when I work on these fairly modest projects, I quickly get an understanding of how they just almost instantly become too complicated to understand, and my nonsense of silly variables, peculiar places for things, makes things 10 times more complicated. When I've had pieces of code which I thought were okay, they usually have been worked and reworked so many times. Look at that. Totally, totally wrong. Okay, well, it's not the end of the world. It's not that big a surprise, really. Huh. It's getting further and further away from being right. Why don't I put this down to 10? That is funny. Makes absolutely no difference. Right. Now I am just going to do some playing with this. First off, I'm just going to say size tx, because I'm not really sure how these things work. And I like guessing. I like this bit of plootering around with it. It's, again, like the opposite of what a proper programmer should do. And inevitably I end up doing the thing where I get the notepad out. Yeah, didn't, obviously, unsurprisingly. No, hang on a sec. No, yeah. Obviously and unsurprisingly did not really help. I'm going to take these down just to make it easier to see. No, look at that. They're all right there. At least I think it's basically come out as 0 because look, there's still one out there. And it is like, yeah, I see one appear around the adjacent corners, but anyway, it's all wrong. Okay, what do I need to actually do here? This is going to take it from the world to the screen. This is in the world. This takes it to the screen. Length t equals size tx. I kind of thought that would work. Taking the length of size t does make more sense, I suppose. If this matrix might rotate, but without a rotation, these two things should be the same, I think. Well, yeah, the length and the x value should effectively be the same. No. First I have to... No, I have to transform the origin here as well. This is quite frustrating. But I'll do it. I'll do m transform vector origin, comma, origin transformed. Is that what I call them? Can't remember. I should just open up that. Origin and origin transformed, yeah. Then I probably have to do something like size t subtract origin transformed. Watch me run it. Guess and run it. Okay, well. Right. Now this hasn't worked. I'm not transforming the thing about the distance. This has more or less worked, actually. The thing that hasn't worked is there's a bit where I'm not incorporating it properly, and I can tell where it is. Right. Let me just fix that. That divided by size should actually be length transformed. Let's have another little look. Okay. Now, if I do something like just say new, turn on the grid and length snapping. Right, yeah, and this is working basically. If I move this over to here, and this over to here, more or less, and move this around, I can see those tags on the lines line up with the grid lines, and the grid's lines are 100 units apart, and whichever zoom level I'm at, the little ruler marks will line up with the grid lines. I do have the debugger running, so I won't be getting full performance out of this. Adding all these little lines, that just shouldn't be that much of a problem for it. The sums that it's doing for each line, I think, are pretty simple. And when you consider the thousands of lines it's drawing, when it draws the preview, I just guess it's like not a problem for it. I think that this slight inaccuracy in where the lines appear is interesting, and I don't know why it is. I wonder, for starters, it's just a little thing, but what happens if I make that even? Also, I use floats everywhere. I just have over the decades of being an incompetent programmer, got used to using floats. Floats are just, I just got used to use. I think that has helped. But I'm aware that all of Monkey's internal code, I'm pretty sure, uses doubles for all of its maths functions. That really has sort of helped. And I wonder if I should just switch everything to doubles. Forget about using floats, particularly for this, where the extra detail might be really good. Anyway, this is starting to look very pleasing. It's keeping its scale. Look at that. Haha! I can force it to have a bad time. It does start dropping frames because it's having to draw a lot. For one thing, this will be avoided by the fact I won't allow you to zoom out this fast. That has caused a problem. Yeah, it has caused a problem. When you scale and drag, things look, I'm dragging to the position of the mouse. No, sorry, the rulers are responding to the position of the mouse when this is not. I don't know why it comes out Oh, it doesn't come out of drag mode. It's just, okay, right. I'm wittering. I need to put some stuff into the code which says, are you zooming the screen? And say, if you are zooming the screen and you're also dragging a point, the point needs to have its position updated. It's not going to be a high priority, I must admit, because it's not something I'm doing a lot, but it is a thing I'll have to think about. Now, next is the angle guides. The angle guides I am hoping are going to be slightly simpler, partly because of the stuff I've figured out making the grid and length guides, but it's just well, we'll see. For the time being, that's pretty cool. The code still looks kind of hideous, but it's pretty cool. I'm at 26 minutes. I think that I'm going to see how this one went, and maybe just go for it. Next time, why did it do all that strange stuff? I should stop wittering. Next time, the angle snap guides, that's one thing. And then very shortly after that, I'll do the angle snap guides, and then I'm going to do a bit of a cleanup. I'm going to go through and look at all the pieces of code I've added. I'm going to try and make the try and make it look a bit cleaner. Although, to be honest, it's come the point it's reached now. It's not so bad. It looks pretty grim, but it's getting better. Anyway, next time.